Sitting by the window in David's apartment, I feel the breeze from the Emerson electric fan dance across my hair, my brow, and occasionally the top of my left ring finger, which holds my first tattoo, an earthground symbol. I got this tattoo at Female Trouble Tattoo, not far from where I sit on the corner of 34th Street and Penn Ave. To say the least, and perhaps the most, the shop is divine. Dan and I got matching tattoos there last October while we were in Millvale, Pittsburgh, as part of Old Milk Mooney's Erie Loop tour. It was at Mr. Small's cafe that we chanced upon David Florentino Montez performing a set of his original songs. The songs enchanted Dan and me as we sipped lemon mint tea and enjoyed the compact, tried and tested atmosphere of the cafe. We got to talking after the music finished and invited David to our show the next day at the Maple Leaf, an arts and activism space which was previously an art gallery and German dance hall just a minute's walk from the cafe. The picture shown is a sketch I saw at the Maple Leaf last October, a block print of a bird murmuration, much like the swallows on the Connecticut River in September. The quote on the bottom from artist and organizer David Solnit reads, "Like a murmuration of birds, there is an emergent intelligence amongst organizers and artists, recognizing that we need art and culture to win a better world for our communities and the planet." The next day, Dan and I ate at Tram's Kitchen on Penn Ave, got the aforementioned tattoos, played our set at the Maple Leaf, and chatted with David and his friends on the street after the show let out. "Let me know if you need a place to stay when you're in Pittsburgh," he offered as we exchanged numbers and said goodbye. Three and a half months later, I am waking up on David's couch, having been kept warm by the protection of a reindeer pelt his brother-in-law got him during overseas travel. I don't know more details. Did the reindeer live a happy life? Where did it graze? Did it have dinner plans? Would Marissa Tomei have anything to say? With light pouring in through the east-facing windows, I gently removed my earplugs and incrementally inched the sleep mask above my eyes. When it felt comfortable, I fluttered my eyes open toward the sounds of Dan and David chatting in soft tones, as David prepared us a breakfast of eggs scrambled with tomato, shouldered with salmon, avocado, feta cheese, all topped with chili crisp. It didn't need any salt. The previous night, Old Milk Mooney performed at Mirabelle Skipworth's quarterly Songwriter showcase. Mirabelle invites musicians to perform from the monthly songwriter workshop she hosts, or musicians she meets in her rich life of touring and curiosity. We were part of the latter. "I like to keep the bar high," she said of the groups that are invited to perform at the quarterly songwriter showcase, as she, Dan, and I chatted around the table after midnight, after every guest had left, after Tim had returned home and went to bed in his room upstairs after spending the night at a Medusa show, while people he knows and people he doesn't know filled his house, his home, this church, with food and tears and laughter and silence, and music, and reverence and experiences the size of Jupiter. Morgan Erina shared her songs after Mirabelle opened the showcase with gratitude and Tucker had sound-checked each artist with grace and exacting ears. Before I share the experience of Morgan's music, I want to bring us closer to the experience of being in the house, home, church on Jupiter Drive. What is the word for that experience of recognizing a hallowed, reverent space before I've even a chance to explore it? What is the opposite of the abyss that depression so desperately wants me to stare at and be lost in? How can I be expected with a pen and paper to help you see through my eyes, hear through my ears, listen with my heart? How far can explanation bring us before we must experience together and be changed together? Tears well in my eyes as I write this. I turned off the Emerson electric fan about 20 minutes ago. The shadow of the blades dancing on the floor of David's apartment reminded me of the shadow of the ceiling fan spinning across the performers' sets last night. I think that is where I will start, from the performer's perspective. Sitting in a comfortable, concave, wooden stool with my back to the second story, a fan spinning above my head, I look forward and see a community of attentive, patient, compassionate musicians and non-musicians. If you're watching the video version of this, I swear on Mona Lisa Vito's life that the room was filled by the time we were performing. Insecure tangents aside, I see Tucker to my right, diligently monitoring the PA setup and sound levels. I see Mirabelle sitting in a chair in the next room, the great room, surrounded by people on couches, chairs, standing on all sides, watching us perform. I see Leah with a rainbow-colored hat in the room beyond the great room, seated at a table, watching us perform. I see rusty old brass instruments, delicately and intentionally featured on the walls of the timber frame of what was once a barn. There used to be an elk head there, Tim told me as he pointed to the sousaphone and remarked about how much time he spends in New Orleans. You may have noticed the sousaphone is behind the chandelier in the picture. I did too. I see imagery of cows and pigs, the livestock which this farm once held as part of the Clark estate. I see thoughtful lighting that evokes contemplation and a sense of safety. I see stained glass of all shapes in all areas of the house. From the performer's perch, I stare directly at two identical panes of colorful, leaded geometries in the wall above the passageway to the great room. Do you feel any closer? Do you want more? Less? Would Marissa Tomei have anything to say? Morgan took the performer's perch to start the evening of music, and from the moment she started, an enveloping blanket of rich, whispering, delicate guitar picking, and melodic stories of addiction in this one chair in her basement lulled us into a meditative, reflective, held space. High bar, indeed. Ames Harding was up next. In a set of songs that take their time and showcase complementary styles and vocal prowess, Ames played one of the first songs he ever finished, a goodbye letter to his family, an acknowledgement of directing his energy toward music and away from a path his family expected for him. "The song is called Tell My Mama," he said as I looked at Dan and said, "This song is going to make me cry." I wept. Standing in the great room with my eyes closed for the entire song, I wept. Tears well in my eyes as I write this. Playing our set was an honor. Sadie closed the showcase with a voice that needed no accompaniment. Her guitar playing provided a garden bed in which each song grew, and oh my God, they grow into beautiful, heartfelt beams of sound that penetrated every nook and cranny of the timber frame and souls within. And those nooks and crannies, the atomic spaces of notched wood and unintended ledges, they are filled with tiny delights, little birds, a maneki neko with its left arm raised, beckoning good relationships, the world's smallest violin. a stuffed llama that fits in the palm of my hand. After the showcase portion ended, people gathered in various rooms, eating the delicious vegan chili Mirabelle had made in a pot big enough to feed a community. As I sat at the table in the room beyond the great room with Hannah and chatted about her researching the mountain yellow-legged frogs, a hush fell over the group as the gentle tones of Mirabelle's guitar picking and precise singing led us into the sacred space of an hours-long song share from anyone who wanted to share. As the breeze from the Emerson Electric, as the shadows from the ceiling fan, as the blanket of Morgan's music, as the field of protection surrounding Jupiter, the night felt like taking my earth-ground tattooed left hand and planting it deep into a pile of dark, moist humus.